another episode of... Thank you, Peter.
I don't know why I'm fucking with you this early, sorry.
I'm pretty sure I did it to you once.
Also, I'm pretty sure it's Laura at this point.
Yeah.
To yet another episode of What Is My Podcast About? I am your host today, Matthew Grace, and as always, I am joined by...
Whoa. We gotta stop right there. What is this podcast even about, Matt?
Okay, fine. It's about anything that we can think of, really, until we actually come up with a topic that we want to talk about.
And how often do we record said podcast,
Once
Matthew?
every 2 weeks.
That's good, because I was gonna be very lost if Matt didn't specify that.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm joined by Keith.
Which one's that?
You.
Okay, thank you.
And Peter, the laughing one.
Oh, by process of elimination, that must be me. Man, we're really just fucking with the intros super hard at this point. God.
I blame you, Peter, because you started and I had to continue.
I know, it's 100% my fault, but I'm okay with it.
This is going to be a time. So, how have you guys been?
Clearly, I've been great.
It feels like it's been ages.
If
Even though
only
it's
it
been 2
had
weeks.
We're just trying to get as far away as we can from that pony episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta put some distance between us. I want as many uploads after it as possible.
I forgot that's what we did.
Though I will say, it has been quite hectic in the realm of news since, because I guess everyone decided they wanted to announce things.
Yeah, there's been a lot of announcements.
So one of the first things, finally coming to Disney, we got Star, which is all the Fox properties and mature content, finally in its own category and online.
Yeah.
So things like Scrubs came over, and Deadpool, and the X-Men movie. Like, just, if it was a Fox property, it's now on Disney Plus now.
I've been using it as a chance to go back through Futurama, because it's been a while since I watched Futurama, and there wasn't a good way to watch it online.
In all 4 of its endings?
Yeah, exactly. The 4 separate times they decided they were done making the show, and they realized they could probably squeeze more money out of it.
To be fair, I don't think they decided they were done making the show. They were just, it's canceled.
Yeah.
4 times.
Yeah. One of them stuck.
For now.
Yeah.
On top of that, in the realm of Disney Plus information, a new series got announced that I'm actually quite interested in. Do you guys remember the Mighty Ducks movies?
I sure do.
Absolutely.
Well, they got, somehow, Emilio Estevez back, and they're doing a modern, Mighty Ducks series.
Oh my god.
Holy fuck, they actually got Estevez.
That is a blast from the past.
And it looks like the Mighty Ducks organization is the bad guys.
Of course they are.
Alright.
They've established them as winners in the past, and if there's anything I learned from sports movies in that era, it's that the people who have a record of winning are the bad guys at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, essentially, from what we get in the trailer, the actress that plays Lorelai from the Gilmore Girls ends up taking her son to hockey practice, and it's the Mighty Ducks. And everyone's kind of giving him shit because he's bad at the game. So, like, why can't kids just play hockey for fun and not competitive? And a joke about, an 8-year-old there has a sports coach and a medical professional for his training.
Yeah, makes sense.
So then she's just like, fuck, we'll start our own league with blackjack and hookers.
Plucky teens.
Yeah, and I think they're like the Gophers or something. But then, like, we need a coach.
I really enjoy the idea of a fucking Mighty Ducks series following a team that's not the Mighty Ducks in their goal to defeat the Mighty Ducks. It's like if the Power Rangers movie was all about following someone who wanted to kill the Power Rangers.
Also, Emilio Estevez has immediately regressed back to the first Mighty Ducks movie because it makes it very clear at the beginning that he hates both hockey and children.
I like the idea of a fucking shitty lawyer who realized his love for children through hockey, then spending enough time coaching kids in hockey to be like, nah, fuck it, I realized, no, kids were shit, I was right the first time.
Fuck kids and hockey.
Yeah, fuck kids and this thing that brought me together with them.
Yep. But she's like, well, we need a coach, and he's the coach we need.
Of course he is.
So that's how they brought back Emilio Estevez. So, I'm looking forward to that when that comes out.
It'll certainly be interesting, to say the least.
In some video game news, some things I found very interesting. So, Nintendo had their Pokémon Direct for the 25th anniversary.
Yeah, I completely missed that until the day after, and it appeared in my feed.
And did you see the Pokémon Legends Arceus trailer?
I did.
Did you see how I'm sure the Switch was on its last breast sacrificing its life so we could see that gameplay?
Yeah, it was stuttery as all.
Oh, 100%.
But it is an open world Pokemon game, which, unlike what it was with Sword and Shield, this one is like, ancient times with like the old Pokeballs made of the berries or whatever the hell they are.
Specifically in the Sinnoh region, and I believe it's premise is you making the first Pokedex for the Sinnoh region.
Yeah. And
I really hope that means you actually get to write in your own entries rather than just like, you're filling out the Pokedex and every time you scan a Pokemon, it already has all the information and a description that you clearly did not fucking write.
That way we can make up all of the nonsensical.
Yeah. This Magikarp can jump higher than a mountain. Probably.
I've never seen it did, but it probably can.
Man, I gotta play... Wait, does that mean we'll get Primal Magikarp? Because I remember that in one of the games they mentioned the fact that Magikarp is nothing what it used to be. It's like a shell of its former self, and it was like a rampaging beast.
I'd be kind of down for that. Having Magikarp being the most powerful Pokemon to the point where you have better luck catching a Gyarados and then breeding it to get a Magikarp rather than just trying to catch a wild Magikarp.
Now with this, I still want it to only know Splash, and Splash is just like the most decimating move in existence.
Splash of the ocean, a giant tidal wave, just washes away everything.
It's Splash, the sound the Pokemon that you're fighting makes when it hits it.
It's just called Splash, but then it reads, fucking Magikarp Splash. It caused a tsunami. Everyone's dead now.
You somehow managed to beat the Primal Magikarp. Arceus descends down from the heavens to congratulate you, because that was the one plague keeping him from bringing forth peace to the world.
I was not coming to the world when Magikarp still existed.
Arceus actually reveals that he's not God, Magikarp was God, and he now has to take over for him since he defeated him.
Man, this game's getting good already.
Yeah.
But in the gameplay, it shows, like, you kind of, like, have to aim your Pokeball with, like, an arc and throw it and catch things, which is exemplified in, I think it's 2 Mudkips or something. And it's just them standing back to back, and he hits one, and the other one does not flinch whatsoever, just kind of stand there, like it's not moving or breathing or anything, just, maybe if I don't move, it won't notice me type deal.
It assumes we have T-Rex vision, and who knows, maybe we do.
Now, to be fair, there's also been a lot of rumors recently about the Nintendo Switch Pro, which this could be leading up to, because apparently the Nintendo Switch Pro in dock mode is able to process up to 4K if the rumors are true.
Interesting. That's a little bit reverse of what the Switch was on release.
Yeah.
Because the Switch, when it was released, was inherently more powerful in its portable mode than when it was docked.
Yeah, so apparently, like, what they're going with Switch, hypothetically, the processing power is going to be around what we'd expect from the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that looks like what it's going to be going to. Of course, it's not going to probably have all the games and the big open stuff because it's still cartridge-based, but this is moving more towards the games that are on the Switch aren't going to have this processing problem they've been running into.
Yeah.
Right.
Means with the Nintendo's next console, they'll be caught up with last generation of consoles for everyone else. And to be fair, Nintendo doesn't fucking care. They're doing just fine.
Another game that got a trailer, which I'm looking forward to. I've never really been big into the Five Nights games, but they released the Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach trailer, which is you're kind of in like this big 80s mall, and you actually move around and have to do traps and avoid things. So it looks like it's a survival horror game where you're trapped in a mall, and not the I'm sitting in a booth pushing buttons.
That is one thing I always felt kind of lacking about Five Nights at Freddy's is it's hard to get the full survival horror game feel when it's just you pushing buttons in a room trying to close vents and stuff like that. Actually having to walk around and complete objectives while also avoiding those things makes it seem a lot more kind of terrifying.
Yeah, in the trailer, it shows that you have to walk, like, pretty much you're trapped in there, and it's not, oh, I'm coming back each week for a paycheck, or each day for a paycheck. It's, you gotta get out of the mall.
Yeah.
So it's you trying to escape when these animatronics pop up. And in the trailer, it actually shows, like, you'll be walking, and you hear, like, you look back, and you see one of them fucking run at you, and he starts running.
Great. Another game that I can enjoy watching people be absolutely terrified of.
So look forward to our episode on it in October when we force Matt to play.
That's true. Another game which is coming out on the Switch that looked interesting was Gnosis.
I completely missed this one.
So Gnosis is a procedurally generated mystery game, as I guess is the best way to put it. So essentially, you're on a spaceship that comes into contact with something. Think of it kind of like The Thing. And someone on the ship is infected by this thing called the Gnosis. And it's trying to spread, essentially. So you and the rest of the crewmates who have all the personalities and routines and all that stuff that's procedurally generated, you have to try to figure out who it is and get rid of the person. And it doesn't look like it's a multiplayer game. It looks like a single-player experience where everything's constantly changing. So that means every time you play the game, it's a different person that's affected by the Gnosis.
That's pretty fun.
So, like, Among Us.
Except where you play alone and don't have to deal with your bullshit friends.
That's true. That's the
Interesting.
Yeah, and it looks like it's coming to the Switch. There's not too many details on it. It's kind of like a visual novel style, where it has set points where things will happen. You're trying to resolve it on the ship. So you're trying to keep the ship going, but also trying to figure out who's the infected person, who's removing people. And if you guess wrong or don't vote someone, it will say, like, oh, this person was attacked by the thing and, they weren't found, or you eject them from the ship, stuff like that.
So-and-so was not the imposter.
The Gnosis.
Yeah, that.
And of course, I guess this is probably the big news for me that I'm excited about, but they announced with Final Fantasy VII coming to the PlayStation 5, it's getting an updated version called Final Fantasy VII Integrated.
Ooh.
And it adds a new story mission, which is kind of like a side story, where you play Yuffie.
Right, I heard about the Yuffie DLC, and I also heard that they're making a Final Fantasy Battle Royale game.
I didn't hear about this one, but maybe you've heard of Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis.
No.
So you remember when Final Fantasy VII Remake got announced, and was like, oh, it's a remake, cool. And then clearly Final Fantasy VII didn't go down the path of being a remake, but a new story. Well, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is that remake. And it combines all of the Final Fantasy VII canon storylines, so Crisis Core, Pre-Crisis, all that stuff, Dirge of Cerberus, were all remade into a single game that tells the full Final Fantasy VII story. And my only assumption being that with this coming out, it's because they want you to know the story for when the Part 2 of the 7 remake comes out.
And
you know how fucking far they go off the track.
They want you to know exactly what's supposed to happen, so when it diverges, you see exactly how the fuck it diverged.
Also, don't get me wrong, they actually did remake the core of the original Final Fantasy from what we saw in the trailer. It's update, like, it's not like to the scale that Final Fantasy VII Remake was done, but it's the exact same game. Everything's apparently the same, but the models have all been updated to more modern models, so it looks nice. There's audio voice acting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to be definitely a game worth picking up if you didn't get to experience the full Final Fantasy VII storyline and kind of want it a more digestible thing. I love going back to play Final Fantasy VII, but by God, is there some parts in there that are very difficult just with the graphics of the time.
Yeah.
Like defending that fucking egg.
The way that time has progressed, it makes that game hard to fucking get through.
Yeah. The Battle Royale game that I heard through essentially word of mouth, I have yet to actually look up any information on it. Apparently it's called The First Soldier. And yeah, it'll be a Final Fantasy-based Battle Royale.
Interesting.
How can it be a Battle Royale if it's about the first soldier? That implies exactly one person.
There can only be one.
Or does it mean Soldier First Class?
Okay.
I don't know. Something I'm going to have to look into.
Or it's 100 people fighting to earn the title of First Soldier. And if you die in the fight, you don't get to be a soldier. You also die for real.
That's
Still waiting for a game to introduce that technology.
Whoever wins becomes Sephiroth.
I mean, technically that is canon within the world, so...
Yeah.
Clearly someone hasn't watched Advent Children.
I have, actually.
Oh, then someone doesn't remember Advent Children.
Not very well.
Very clearly.
And now, shifting over to some more movie news, we finally got the name of the third Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
There's a couple theories about that one. Some of the more plausible ones are he's either on the run and can't go home because of the fact that his name has been released and he's been accused of committing crimes against the world. He's off planet and literally has no way to get back to Earth. I think my favorite one that's definitely not going to happen is that he's in jail and the No Way Home is he can't leave jail.
I mean, that right there, you just do a Sinister Six move, right?
Yeah.
It all takes place in the prison.
Follow Peter Parker's web-slinging antics from this jail cell.
Plus, it would be very different from, like, any other superhero movie in jail. Because I can imagine other superheroes going to jail and constantly fighting with other prisoners to, like, assert their dominance and, like, you're criminals, you're getting what you deserve. I can't imagine Spider-Man beating up another prisoner. I can only imagine him just like, I'm just gonna avoid you for the entire time I'm in here.
Get down here and fight me. No, I'm not leaving the ceiling.
Yeah.
All the inmates who are actually there for actual crimes are like, we're gonna beat you up. What you did was absolutely terrible. Like, no, I did nothing.
You tried to kill the Queen. I don't think that was the plot of the last one.
Yeah, I like it. Has not in any way been confirmed. In fact, the name almost makes it hard to believe that this is the case. it is still my deepest fucking desire that Kraven the Hunter is the primary antagonist of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Now that Peter Parker's name has gotten out there, I so desperately want it to follow Kraven the Hunter hunting Spider-Man.
One of the things I heard that was actually an interesting thought on it was that the No Way Home is not a physical reference, but more of a reference of there's no way back to the being
World
anonymous
that used to
Spider-Man.
be, yeah.
He's pretty much just like Iron Man. Iron Man became publicly known, and that was it, right?
Yeah.
So the No Way Home means he can never go back to how things were, more
Right.
so. So he has to learn to deal with the fact that everyone knows that he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
A more symbolic take on home.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys heard about this one, but I'm sure you'll be excited. So apparently, Nickelodeon, you know how they were planning on doing the Netflix series, right?
I have heard about this.
So the Netflix series got canceled, and Nickelodeon decided, we're going to make a studio that's all responsible for just Avatar lore. So apparently they're doing to Avatar what they did with, what Disney did with Star Wars, where it's like, this is the whole world, we're going to tell stories in this world, and they have a whole department that's just dedicated to this world.
I think the Netflix...
Avatar Studios.
The Netflix series went under because the creators of Avatar were brought on to be the creative directors and creative leads and have all creative say, yet they had no creative say whatsoever, so they just abandoned the project.
Yeah.
See, this makes me nervous because exactly what you compared it to was Disney taking over, or not taking over, but canonizing what's real and what's not in Star Wars, and then making everything beyond in that thing. And honestly, everything that's come out in Star Wars since then has been very hit or miss, except for The Mandalorian, which was hit. I don't know why I said hit so many times, it just was a hit. So it makes me a bit nervous to hear that there's just a studio that's just solely responsible for pumping out Avatar shit, because...
Well, to be fair, it's not pumping out, they're responsible for finding parts in the world where new stories can be told.
Yeah, new stories, and I think they're also going to bring out some already existing stories that are in comic form.
Yeah. So it's not so much they're gonna how can we milk this for all it's worth from the sound of it? It could very well be that. This could just be corporate speak of oh, we want to make sure the fans get what they want type deal, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like from what we're getting right now, because it's still very lacking information other than this group is responsible purely for going over Avatar lore and finding new stories to tell in this world.
All I'm saying is it does make me a little bit nervous that it could very well become the kind of thing where it's just a studio pumping out Avatar stuff to try and capitalize on the market.
Yeah, the only saving grace is that I think the original creators are also part of the team. So,
until they realize they don't have enough creative control and quit. Because that's how I felt about the series before that happened.
And then, of course, the last bit of information that, not really new, but I recently found out about, but apparently the Monster Hunter movie came out in December, and at the same time, it just recently went up on streaming for rent.
Yeah, completely flew under my radar, completely forgot about it until just the other week.
Yeah, it's just... I figured it out when I started getting a whole bunch of ads of, hey, you should be watching Monster Hunter right now. Stop what you're doing and pull up Monster Hunter on a streaming service and watch it right now. That's how I figured out that it was out for streaming.
And watching the trailer, I think I realized something. I knew this was going to be a bad movie for the simple fact that it immediately starts with, what if people from the real world? And that's I think that's the problem that most video game movies go into. It always has to be someone coming from the real world into the game world, right?
Well, I kind of understand why they do that. It is fucking stupid, but you need, in order to reach a wider audience and not just have only fucking Monster Hunter World fans come to see this movie, you need someone in the fucking movie who doesn't know the world of Monster Hunter, so they have a reason to explain the world of Monster Hunter.
But there's an easier way to do this. It's a person who came from a remote area that didn't have any monsters that they dealt with on a regular basis, go to a big city area, and that's when they start finding out about this stuff. So they have to team up with someone who is then giving the information.
I recognize that. I just feel like most studios take the easy approach of, if it's someone from our world, then they can ask questions and we can answer it from a perspective of someone in our world learning.
Or the age-old solve, they got amnesia.
Yeah, or get in contact with some of the actual writers for Monster Hunter, because I'm pretty sure Monster Hunter actually does take place in our world, just far, far, far in the future, and something cataclysmic happened.
All the more thing. They didn't transfer from our world to the Monster Hunter world, they transferred from our time forward into the future.
I no longer have any complaints for this movie.
I mean, it has Mila Jovovich. It's going to be a perfect movie.
It's going to be a fun movie. That's at least true.
Yeah. It might be bad, but it'll be like popcorn.
Because what I'll give is, the first 2 Resident Evil movies actually weren't bad. They were decent. They told a Resident Evil-esque story with some weird parts in it. But overall, they were passable movies. It got weird after that, but it still had really good action scenes and paid homage to parts in the games amazingly well.
Yeah, I would argue that none of them were terrible movies. They just
weren't Resident Evil.
They weren't Resident Evil movies. They just paid homage to the Resident Evil games.
Yeah.
All I know is what I've read on Reddit, and what Reddit said is that absolutely nothing happens plot-wise for the movie.
Except for magic rocket launchers. I do remember magic rocket launchers from the trailer. They have iron sights that also have homing features and all that jazz.
Yeah.
It just hurts.
I hope they fix that in the movie.
I hope they didn't.
I'm gonna be watching for that. When that scene rolls by, I'm going...
You gotta especially watch for the other thing we noticed from that same scene, which is the magically feeding rocket, where the first time you see it, there's not a rocket, and then she shoots, and then there's a rocket inside of it.
Yeah.
You gotta watch for that to happen as well.
And as a player of Monster Hunter, I absolutely hate how she uses fire dual blades.
We don't need to get into the depths of Monster Hunter lore.
We'll save it for when we do the movie, I guess.
Alright.
Alright, Matt. Fuck it. What do you want to talk about?
Alright, today we are getting...
Warframe, right?
No.
Wait, it's your birthday. Why are you not talking about Warframe?
Because you guys never wanted to play Warframe with me.
This was your chance to make us!
Well, anyway, since you apparently thought we were talking about Warframe, I'm going to break the news to you and say that we're actually talking about my favorite anime.
Violet Evergarden.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
No. Made in Abyss.
You said it was Violet Evergarden, Matt.
I said that's one of my favorites. My top...
That's fair. I changed my favorite since the last time.
Yeah, mine too.
It's Neon Genesis again.
Anyway, my top favorite is Made in Abyss. A very lovely, happy-go-lucky series.
No, it's not.
No. I did say something right here. Because, Matt, you played Made in Abyss as, like, some, like, horrifying, like, mentally deranged thing. It's no worse than Full Metal Alchemist in my mind.
Yeah, no.
That being said, it is not fucking happy-go-lucky either.
No. Neither's Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying.
But it's not like it was nowhere near what it was played out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
The more...
Unless there's a floor full of clowns, like, the 8th floor down.
Yeah.
I guess the most jarring thing is when you look at the cover art, the artwork looks very cheerful and looks like it's kind of directed at a young audience, but when you actually delve into its contents, that is no such case.
I mean, it could be. Oh, aside from all the dick jokes.
Yeah. It's got a lot of dick jokes.
It could still be for children.
Yeah, I mean, the creator did originally intend for it to be some sort of pop-up story, but didn't work out with that media due to the editors.
Dick jokes.
The dick jokes and the editors and this.
I would love a pop-up book full of dick jokes, because there'd be at least one page that just is a dick popping up at you.
But anyway, it takes place on an island out in the middle of the ocean. This island was discovered 1,900 years ago. It has this huge, seemingly bottomless pit to it that...
What's at the bottom of the pit, Matt? Is it God? Is God at the bottom of the pit?
So whatever you believe, but I have a theory that there's another pit on the other side of the planet that's just the same and eventually come out on the other side.
The planet's just a donut!
You would think that, but apparently every other cave on the planet has been explored fully, except for this one. It's the last...
I don't believe it. That's the most unbelievable thing.
Yes, this entire series, that is the least believable part.
It's the last unexplored place on the planet, and because of that, it has gained the attention of explorers and adventurers the world over. So
most of which are children, from what I understand.
Orphans specifically.
Only the orphans.
That's fair.
I mean,
what else do you need these orphans for?
Yeah. If you have your parents' love, then there's nothing to find in the pit. But if you don't have your parents' love, then you better look for it in the pit.
Yeah, it might be your parents' love down there.
Yeah, maybe.
Actually, that might be the plot line.
That might be specifically the plot that we're following, is one girl looking for her mother's love in the pit.
So, the story starts out in a town called Orth, which was originated from just the creation of more and more, I guess, base camps of adventurers who are coming to explore the pit. And this town just popped up out of all of that nonsense. And, the reason they do all these dangerous delves into the pit is because of some strange force field that they can't really describe, and it has no real known cause at the moment. It's just...
To be fair, I don't think they describe it as a force field.
It's glazed over very briefly.
They do in the manga explicitly call it a force field.
They call it a force field explicitly in the manga, and only mention it by the force field once or twice in the anime. But in the manga, they do explicitly say that due to the way it works, it makes actually viewing the abyss from outside impossible. And when you're inside the abyss, it helps filter light down into the darker, deeper reaches of the hole. Yeah.
So it's like a mirror. It's like a one-way mirror.
Pretty much. Except it does more than trap light. It also works to trap
Human souls.
anyone who's not from the Abyss. So the Abyss has what's called the Strains of Ascending, or as what everyone calls it, because they have no idea why it happens, the Curse of the Abyss. As you go down into the Abyss, the deeper you go, the more intense these strains are when you're trying to get out. The Abyss is broken up into different sections called layers as you go deeper and deeper. The first layer has the most mild symptoms of the curse. When you're coming back up from the first layer, you get mild dizziness and nausea. Coming back up from the second layer, you get intense nausea, headaches, and numbness of the extremities. The third layer, you get vertigo, visual and auditory hallucinations. In the fourth layer, you experience intense pain throughout your entire body and bleeding from every single orifice. Every single orifice.
That's the dick jokes. You bleed from the dick. It's very explicit you bleed from the dick. Maybe other parts of the body, explicitly you bleed from the dick.
Fifth layer ascension causes loss of all senses, confusion, and causes you to inflict self-harm. And sixth layer, loss of humanity, most likely death. Seventh layer, if you go down there, you're just going to die on your way back up. So anyone who goes down below, or goes down to the seventh layer, that's a one-way trip.
And I believe they call it their final dive.
Their final dive, their final descent. And I guess now is a good time to bring up all the rankings of the Cave Raiders.
Because
I only know 4.
It makes perfect sense, the sequence that it follows.
Yeah. First, there's the Bells, which are just novices in training. They don't do any cave raiding.
I know 5.
I imagine I can guess the one you are missing, Keith.
There's the Red Whistles, who are apprentices. The main character is a Red Whistle. And,
technically a Blue Whistle.
No, still just Red Whistle.
I never saw her give back that blue whistle.
But you never see her with it again after they leave.
I don't see her with any whistles after she leaves.
Fair point.
She's not even a bell holder. She's nothing in this series.
She starts off as a Red Whistle.
Technically, we'll get into it. There's things that happen later that make her not a Blue Whistle either.
Yeah.
Slightly higher.
Yeah. Blue Whistles are the adepts.
Rainbow Whistle.
Kind of.
Yeah. So Blue Whistles are adepts. They're allowed to delve down into the second layer and explore the second layer. The Red Whistles, if they go down that deep, it's treated as suicide.
They don't send search parties.
They don't send search parties, because the Red Whistles have a depth limit of about 550 meters.
I'm going to interject right here. Before you list what the next whistle is, I'm openly declaring that the next whistle is the whistle Keith does not know about, based on the fact that it does not follow the pattern of the other whistles in the fucking slightest.
Fair enough. It's the Moon Whistle.
Okay. Is that the one that the guy that does the patrols at the orphanage has? Okay.
Jiro. Or as he's called by the orphans, leader.
Yeah. Moon Whistle, you're allowed to go even deeper than the Blue Whistle. But it's more specifically, you're a teacher to the younger classes.
You're more adept, you're considered a teacher, and you teach the young ones coming up who want to be cave raiders. And then there's the Black Whistles, the experts, who are above all of the others in their experience of the Abyss.
Almost feels like you'd want them teaching then.
Except
they're too busy delving.
One of the notable Black Whistles of the series at the start is on a 2-month expedition into the Abyss, and he's not back until a couple of episodes in.
He's fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I like him.
Gives gifts.
And taketh away.
And then
there's the legends, the ones who are looked up to by absolutely everyone. The White Whistles, who are said to have surpassed their human limitations to challenge the abyss and everything that it throws at them.
There's only, like, what, 5 or 6 of these guys?
Yes.
Something like that. It should be explicitly noted, these aren't just, like, rankings that you're just referred to as a red whistle. Each of these people does specifically have a whistle that matches their specific ranking. So the blue whistles all carry blue whistles, the red whistles all carry red whistles, the white whistles carry magic whistles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the only time I've seen, like, the fact that the whistle makes any sense is with the white whistles, because the whole thing, like, you need this for certain items!
Yeah. And there's a reason for that, but you learn that much later on.
I have no idea what it's for.
But yeah, all the whistles, aside from their color designation for how experienced you are and how far down you can go into the abyss, it's just like a safety item, like whistle for help if something happens.
You can take notes for others. Presumably, maybe the different colors make more or less sound to make you easier to encounter your friends or harder to be heard by enemies.
Maybe.
Who the fuck knows?
I doubt that, because that giant fish thing went after her pretty quickly.
Yes, the Crimson Splitjaw. But
that's the one.
Maybe red's the one that makes you most detectable to monsters.
But yeah, so the story follows Riko, a little girl who, I think
she's 12.
12 years old.
Because she was 2 when her mother left, and her husband was gone for 10 years.
12 years old.
Come on, man, I know more than this. Also, might be controversial. I hate this character.
Oh, I 100% agree.
She's
the least interesting thing in the story, and the story's about her.
Yeah, I like the character, but she does have some problems.
Okay, so when it started, I thought I was going to like her. Now, this might be controversial. I watched the anime version only. I was not invested for the first 4 episodes. And it was mainly because she starts off seeming interesting, and then it quickly goes down. Like when she's talking about experimenting on Reg to see what's going on, to figure things out, and she's talking for the stuff, and he's panicking. There's like, that was her highlight.
Yeah.
And that was episode 2.
Yeah, her thing is she's boundlessly curious. She's obsessed with going down in the abyss because her mother is one of these legendary white whistles who, when she was, as you said, 2 years old, she left on her final descent to go down beyond the 7th layer to see the bottom of the abyss.
And you're the Annihilator.
I think my problem with her is she does definitely prove to be very intelligent about things, but the issue is she kind of fills that role of, like, the princess from, like, you know, older stories. Like, she doesn't do anything except get saved.
Yeah, she's,
and cause problems.
Yeah,
She's Princess Zelda. She's got the power of wisdom and is also rescued often.
She's more of an early Princess Peach.
She has the knowledge of cave raiding to assist with Reg's power.
Yeah.
But she also has too much curiosity and gets into trouble for it.
And loses all of her good gear within the first couple of times.
Yeah. So yeah, follows her mainly and a couple of the other orphans at the orphanage. Just her close friends, Shiggy, Nat, and then a young little kid, Kiwi, who's just a little belle, too young to do any cave raiding. And they're on their first assignment because Riko wants to go deeper than she's currently permitted to. She made an agreement with their leader that if she gets the most valuable haul of relics from the abyss during their first cave raid of the series, then he'll allow her to go further down into the abyss for her next raid. But things don't go so well, because her friend Nat is attacked by a creature from the abyss, a Crimson Splitjaw, a giant red snake thingy.
Now, I don't know if they do this different in the manga, but in the anime, he's just kind of laying there, and then the thing shows up. So did he just fall or something?
Oh, no. He was attacked.
He was attacked. That was the reason for him laying there, was he had been attacked.
Yeah, the Crimson Splitjaw just kind of came into frame.
Okay, so the Splitjaw did attack him, but he was attacked.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you're being coy about it because it's not figured out until much later in the story.
No, the Splitjaw did attack him.
Oh, the Splitjaw attacked him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Riko sounds her whistle to save Nat. The Splitjaw notices the whistle, comes after her. She freaks out and runs. Gets smacked down a pit. And, running cornered.
All the way to the 3rd level of... No.
Still in the first level of the abyss. So she gets cornered and screams for help because she's about to be eaten. And then this giant laser comes flying out of nowhere, skins the top of the the Crimson Splitjaw's head, and he goes running.
And now you know how most every encounter in this story is going to go.
Yeah. Riko calls for help. And one person in particular answers.
With a laser beam. I mean, incinerator.
Yeah. And so she goes to investigate and finds this passed out individual who she quickly finds out is a robot because his skin feels like rubber. And also he has
a surprisingly realistic penis, though, as we find out later.
Yeah.
If there's anything you need to know about this man, his penis is surprisingly realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they sneak him back into the orphanage, because as we learn, any relic that they find goes to the orphanage to fund the orphanage, because any relics that are found in the Abyss are sold to foreign countries for profit.
Those gullible sons of bitches.
Yep. So, they take Reagan secretly to, poke around at him, see if they can wake him up. They shock him with all of the electricity of the orphanage, because they strap him into an electric chair.
I accidentally set it to 20 instead of 2, which is just great.
Yep. And, that's when they found out that they tried to feed him coals first to power him.
Also tried to pierce him.
Also tried to pierce him with a knife.
Presumably at some point
Drill
in
him.
this experience is when they discover he has a surprisingly realistic penis.
Inspected his surprisingly realistic penis.
Yeah.
Yep. For some reason tried to probe his butt.
Well, the meter stick got lost halfway,
Yeah.
right?
It broke.
Although I will say, one of my favorite scenes in this whole part is when they all realize they have to kind of scatter because leader's on patrol, and then when she's there, and it's like, oh no, where did he go? And you just see him hanging there menacingly in the back. It's like, is he gonna murder this man?
Yeah, there's definitely half a second there where you're like, oh, okay, so this is how leader dies. Okay, cool.
No, he probably would if he wasn't...
You see him just bring up the hand, start charging. It's like, oh.
He probably would
But no, then he notices that Riku's looking. He's like, I guess I'll just leave then.
No, he probably would have...
Never be alone.
If he didn't lose his memories, and he was not more concerned by the fact that he had extendable arms.
Yeah.
And so...
And a remarkably realistic penis.
Remarkably realistic.
That line comes up too much in the series.
Yeah.
Almost as much as irredeemable. In parts where it doesn't make sense.
I think that's more of a phrase that those characters learned from a certain character. But anyway, next episode is the kids. They come up with a plan to get Reg introduced to Juro, leader, and get him indoctrinated into the orphanage.
Good use of word, indoctrinated.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it
At
is.
the same time, Jiro just gives off the feel through the whole series like he already knows everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And he's just watching and just making sure things don't get out of hand and giving reprimands when they're needed, but making sure they're learning. Because he's a good teacher. And also his teacher was Riko's mother. So, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Reg gets in, they start learning and all that. And he starts to learn everything about what it is to be a cave raider, or a delver, however you want to call them.
Yeah, he's hoping to be a red bell, but nah, fuck you. You're, a red whistle. Fuck you, you're a bell. You do chores for a living.
Yeah,
That's your life.
You're a bell until you do your first cave raid.
But we're not really going to teach you about that. We're mostly going to get you to sweep the floors and shit.
Yeah. But while that's
It's
happening...
like a Mr. Miyagi thing, maybe.
Yeah.
While that's happening, 2 months has passed, and that Black Whistle that I mentioned, who was on his adventure, or his excursion, he returns with his team, and they come with a message and a white whistle.
Does that message or white whistle have any impact on the main characters we've been following so far, Matthew?
It does! That whistle belongs to Liza the Annihilator. Just so happens that Liza is the name of Riko's mother. And
I'm sure that's not related.
And the Annihilator is definitely not a super ominous name to be associated with that character.
Yeah, so a festival breaks out in Orth because
she's dead, and
she's
that's
dead.
something to celebrate.
Yes.
It makes you almost feel like the people are being oppressed by the white whistles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the fucking beginning of The Wizard of Oz where they find out the white whistle's dead and they're like, let's throw a fucking party, ding dong, she's dead.
in essence, it's to celebrate her life and her accomplishments and, to memorialize her. Memorialize. That's the word.
Now, this is where one of the first problems come up that I had like a real concern with was the fact that they make explicitly clear that if something a white whistle sends up comes up, it's fact. But if it's not a white whistle, it's false. Like, wait,
Yeah,
what?
There's a little more to that. If
Yeah.
something a Black Whistle sends up from where Black Whistle is able to go, due to their limitations, then that's also considered fact. But if a black whistle goes out of their depths and sends something up, it's going to be discarded.
Yeah, but say a white whistle went down and lost their mind and then sent up a message with, unrelated to, hey, it's really cool down here at the bottom, why don't you all come join me?
Yeah,
it's going to be considered fact.
Exactly. And that might be a problem for, some impressionable children.
Yes.
To bring it back to our talk about the white whistles clearly being oppressors, no matter what the fuck they say, it's considered a fact. So they could say, you know what? Giving me blowjobs heals all the curses of the abyss. Yeah, sure, that's a fact now.
You know what's fun? Sending orphans into the abyss.
Yeah. Send orphans all the way to the bottom of the abyss.
If don't, we'll kill them on their birthday.
Yeah.
But yeah, since it's a package from a white whistle, it has to be inspected first before Rico can get it. But the black whistle, who brought it up, his name Hablog, or as everyone calls him, Habbo.
Hablog's dog, yeah.
At a hotel.
He comforts Rico by saying, yes, I'm sure it's a message from your mother to you. So, yeah, it's for
You'll
you.
get to read it once they're done expecting it.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, I have this whistle.
Yeah, because it's tradition that if a white whistle passes on, then the whistle goes to one of their relatives, the next of kin.
And now she's a white whistle.
Not quite, because a white whistle will only work for the person that it was originally made for.
And it's made from the human soul of other people.
I don't think this was mentioned at all.
It wasn't.
It will be.
It will be later on. After the 13 episodes...
Is that why she's the Annihilator?
No. It'll be mentioned after the 13 episodes of the first season. That's
Okay, I
the
didn't
only-
get past that.
Fair enough.
I know there's a movie
Yes.
that takes place afterwards, but I haven't gotten to that.
There is the 13 episodes of... that's out. There's the first movie, which takes events of the first half of that.
Yeah,
the
the
second
first two
movie is
movies
the second
are
half.
the 13 episodes just broken up, and then the third
And
movie
is the arc that follows that. Yeah, so...
the
package.
Souls in the Whistle.
Souls in the Whistle in the package. The whistle, we'll get to that later, maybe.
Also, suffice to say, even though she's holding a white whistle, Rico isn't a white whistle. Yet.
Yeah, and...
I mean, when I think with the depth she's gone to with this one whistle, I think she's at least got honorary white whistle going.
Yeah.
And I should say that it's been kept secret from pretty much everyone except for Rico's closest friends and their teacher that her mother is a white whistle, because things could get very bad for Rico if they found out that her mother was someone so important to society.
Yeah, there was someone made offhand. Well, it was flashback, I think, where the offhand comment about kidnappings or beatings.
Yeah. But,
Not stated for who, though.
yeah. But anyway, kind of helpful that this festival is giving out replicas of Liza's whistle, because now Rico has the actual whistle. Kind of helped disguise it.
Oh, I never made that connection. That makes sense.
Yeah.
She can just claim, if anyone questions her about it, that it's one of the replicas.
Oh, yeah? Well, maybe you should blow it next to this relic.
Won't do
Well,
anything,
it won't
so
do
she's
anything.
safe.
Yeah. She's not the one the whistle was made for. It was made for her mother. Out of the souls of other people.
Yeah. So the next episode has, the contents... They review the contents of the package in that episode. So when they do, they see all of Liza's notes from even further down into the 6th and the 7th layers. And they're like, oh my god, no one knows this stuff yet. This is all new information. And then they notice a little drawing of a silhouette that Liza saw and commented on that looks very similar to Reg. So...
I'm sure it'll never come up again.
Certainly. But now, Reg's like, if I came from that far down in the abyss, what am I? Why was I created? And why the hell am I a robot?
And why is my penis remarkably realistic?
That too. But they also find a little note. What did I write down that note?
See, my favorite thing is, it's commented by some of the kids that they think Rag was just made out of different artifacts, pieced together and assembled into human boy form. Which means that one of the artifacts was a remarkably lifelike penis.
Because,
They do explain that the relics get very strange the further down you go.
yeah. The relics have a rating system. There's the grade 1 relics, grade 2 relics, grade 3 relics. Grade 1 relics are a little more special. Grade 2 relics less so. Grade 3 relics, just common things.
Also,
And then
relics don't really come up very much in those 13 episodes. They're kind of
They're-
passingly things that aren't that important to the story. I don't know if it comes into effect. Like I know they have relics in use.
Yeah, they're mentioned here and there. There's a couple of relics that are used widely. Like, their headlamps are relics refined to actually emit light.
Yeah. That fucking compass she dropped.
That compass she dropped right when they first started their journey. And that scale umbrella that she has is a relic, third-class relic that she picked up and pocketed and presumably got in trouble for.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, they use them here and there, but, like, the concept of finding a relic doesn't seem to be really a common thing in the story.
Yeah, because, well, most of the relics that are found are sold for profits, and just people who find the relics get notoriety and more fame to their name.
Yeah.
And I guess the only relics they really hold on to are ones that'll help them cave raid better.
Makes sense.
So yeah, we don't really get a full description of the scope of what relics can do, just because most relics aren't relevant to cave raiding, so they're just shipped off.
And then outside of those regular grades, there's special grades, like one specifically, the Silent Bell or something.
The Unheard Bell.
The Unheard Bell that Liza had reclaimed from the Abyss. And it is apparently said to be able to stop time in some regard. Whether or not it actually comes up in the story later on, I have no idea. But certainly powerful, to say the least.
Yep. It was also used to briefly bully Rico. It was like, hey, that was fucking lost in the Abyss because of you. You're solely responsible for that.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we actually recovered it shortly after you were born. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, when they were reviewing reviewing the contents of the package, they find a little written message saying, "At the Netherworld's bottom, I'll be waiting." So they assume Liza is sending that message to Rico, saying that she's waiting for Rico to come and find her.
I hope it's not, and she gets down there and she meets you. It's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
I'm gonna assume it's not.
I was sending that to the guy who gave me the real good dicking that one time. I don't care about you. I abandoned you when you were 2. Why do you care?
Also, I thought that guy was dead.
A different person probably gave her a dicking at some point in time.
Yeah.
Rico's dad is absolutely dead, yes.
Not too much happens in the next episode. It's more Reg's first experience with the Abyss.
Still wasn't invested at this point.
And Reg more coming to the terms that he's a robot because he doesn't even feel the strains of Ascension when they're returning. And doesn't even feel them at all.
Yeah, completely kind of forgets that they're a thing until another girl starts fucking puking and he's like, oh, right, yeah, that thing I was told about.
Yeah. And so this episode's more of them talking, planning on how they're going to go, or how they're going to start, and Reg coming to the realization that if he wants to find out what he wants to, he's going to have to go down into the abyss himself also. Yeah, the end of the episode ends with... despite a couple of their friends not wanting Rico and Reg to go.
Yeah, in fact, a really cool person just straight up tells Rico, yeah, by the way, your mom's 100% dead. We don't know how long that gone to get out.
Yeah, she's been gone for 10 years. She's dead by now. No one can live down there that long.
Get fucked, bitch.
But yeah,
I believe was implied.
Yeah, so they end up leaving, and on their way out... Reg runs into Jiroa, and...
I did enjoy this. Funny, because Reg is like the thing keeping me going in the series at this point, because he's just so entertaining. It's like, oh, she went to take a dump, she's got the runs, like, foraging for food in the mist again.
It's like, well, you said she's gone to the bathroom, right? And you're going too? Keep an eye on her. Pats him on the back. She's like, oh, okay. And just heads off. Turns out he was slipping a little message into his pocket.
Of course he was.
Which we read in the following episode. It was like, it contains a copy of all the notes that Liza had sent up of the lower levels of the Abyss, and a message from the teacher himself. He's like, yeah, I'm leaving at dawn to come and get you and bring you back.
This also did not play any significance in the story.
Not really, because he didn't actually show up. It was more the fact that he was giving them one last test, and if they couldn't get away from him, then they have absolutely no hope of getting anywhere further into the Abyss.
Yeah. But, like, having, like, you know, the threat of them would have been, I guess, better, because Habo found them pretty quickly.
Yeah. Incredibly quickly.
Yeah.
Inhumanly quickly. When he was first found, moving at inhuman speeds, which I'm assuming is a relic he found that lets him speed himself up.
Probably. Because he couldn't risk missing that remarkably realistic thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I assume the relic that allows him to move incredibly fast is just a remarkably realistic set of thighs that he just replaced his own with that allows him to run real quick.
But yeah, so he comes down because he's contacted by their friends at the orphanage saying, like, please help Rico make it down to the secret camp, down to the second layer at least, please. And just so you know, Reg is actually a special grade relic, even more special than special grades. An Albod, or however they call them. Which is so rare that they're not even written about or mentioned when they're found. And so he's like, oh, I've got to see this for myself, and then goes off on his own immediately. So he catches up, talks to them. It's like, all right, I'll guide you guys down to the secret camp at the second layer. And they're like, thanks, but no thanks. This is a lesson. We've got to do it ourselves and make a clean getaway. He's like, all right, fine. But let me warn you, there's a white whistle at that camp. Ozen. You don't want to mess with her.
And to be fair, like, them doing it on their own makes the most sense, because I think both of them realize if they can't do it, they also probably shouldn't be doing it, right?
Yeah.
And, like, if they get caught, then it's like, okay, we just have to prepare more for next time.
Yeah. It's more, they realize, well, they're in the safety zone, that if they can't do it, they definitely can't do it when they don't have that safety net.
Yeah. It's also around this time, after they depart from Hablog, where they encounter their first mishap due to a little bit of curiosity. This one was more so a little Reg's fault because of his better hearing.
And I fucking knew where this was going before it even started.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not hard to figure out where it's going.
Reg hears a cry for help in the distance. So it's like, what? I hear someone. Someone's calling for help. So they go and investigate. Turns out, the person was already dead. And it was a creature feasting on his innards called a corpse weeper that was, I guess, echoing the sounds that he'd made before dying in an effort to lure in other nearby suspecting prey.
Of course.
And so Rico gets swooped up because they accidentally wandered right into their nest, or their territory. And this is the second time Reg fires off his incineration cannon.
That we've seen.
The cannon's his penis, isn't it?
No, it's his hand.
I wonder what comes out of his penis.
Blood is
Oh, right, yes, blood coming up. We've discussed this, sorry.
Not his, because he's not affected by the ascending strains.
Someone else's blood comes out of it.
That's a horrible magic trick.
Oh, that's terrifying.
But yeah, he saves Rico. He is absolutely distraught, though, when he comes to, because, as it turns out, whenever he fires it, 10 minutes later, he goes unconscious for a full 2 hours.
The thing I like about this is when, like, someone actually explains it to him, he actively starts telling other people when he's gonna do this. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I just fired this can off. You got 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, you gotta hide yourself for 2 hours and stay safe. I can't help you.
When he's talking to other people, he's like, I just fired this off, so I need you to carry me back, because in 2 hours, I'm gonna be awake again.
Because in 10 minutes, I'm just gonna be a doormat.
Yeah.
But yeah, Reg's all panicked because he almost killed Rico with that blast. But Rico's like, clearly you could use this before, because before I found you, when you fought off the split jaw, it was only a little beam, so you could obviously control it before. So you just gotta remember how to.
Well, I feel like shocking him in an electric chair at level 20 might be partially why he lost his memories.
Also, just want to point out, still at this point, still not invested.
But then we get down, after this, we get into the second layer.
Sorry, Keith, I hope that joke keeps going all the way through my description, like we finished the 13th episode, and you're like, still not invested at this point, I don't know why I kept going. We find out Keith just is really mad at Matt for making him watch this.
Then we get to the second layer, which is probably one of my favorite parts of the Abyss thus far, because up till now, outside of a little bit of fantastical plant life and animal life, we've seen nothing truly out of the ordinary. But now in the second layer, in the Forest of Temptation, we get into the Inverted Forest. and it is a forest fully growing upside down, and because of the strong wind currents being generated from below, even some waterfalls are flowing upwards.
Yep. Fun times.
Yeah. So, with a little bit of trouble, due to some local monkey problems, they make their way to...
Monkey problem sounds like a euphemism, man, I'm gonna be honest. It does not sound like an actual thing.
They have some problems with monkeys.
There we go.
They make their way to the Seeker Camp, which we learn always has a lookout on guard to see when any cave raiders are coming, so they can lower a gondola down so they can come up to the Seeker Camp. And the Seeker Camp is located on the edge of the lair because I guess the curse gets a little bit weaker the further away from the center you go. And also, the more violent creatures and the more aggressive creatures are closer to the center.
Well, it's
Maybe
also
they're tied to the curse.
It's also said that they are capable of actually seeing the kind of barrier that represents the curse, which is why the creatures are able to travel between levels without fucking dying, is because they can tell where the barrier is the weakest and most likely to survive.
That's part of it. Some of the creatures further down can see the force field, but any of the creatures from inside of the abyss aren't affected at all by the abyss.
Yeah, I thought it was like in general, because I know nothing's said for sure, but it's implied that anything from the abyss is not affected by it.
Correct.
Sure.
So anything made in the abyss.
Yeah.
And
like a remarkably realistic penis.
And as we've heard from Rico a couple episodes prior, anything that was brought out of the abyss is said to eventually return to the abyss. Which has some significance. But yeah, they reach the Seeker Camp. The lookout's like, hey master, should I send down the gondola? Because the lookout just seems to be a little kid who's a blue whistle. Which, from what we know, seems a little bit odd, but alright. They're down in the Seeker Camp. With the white
I didn't
whistle.
think it was odd.
Fair enough. Because, white or red whistles don't normally get their blue whistle until they're around 16 or so.
I don't think
15.
it was specified in the anime.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think
I thought as long as you had the stuff, you were any whistle you wanted to be.
Yeah, I think in the
Or you
manga,
had the guts to steal one.
it's not said that you need to reach a certain age. It's just that on average, most get them around the time they're 15.
Yeah. But yeah, so the gondola's not sent down, so they get to the Seeker Camp, and Reg tries shooting his arms up to pull them up, and he starts to freak out because someone picks up his hands on the other side and just drops them back down, and then sends the gondola down. Good old Ozen was waiting for them.
You don't want to fuck with Ozen if there's one thing I've learned from Havlog.
I've just got to say this right now. Ozen is my favorite character.
What a coincidence, Matt.
Is Ozen your favorite
Yes.
character?
That's when Keith started getting invested, was when Ozen appeared.
As soon as Ozen was like, I fucking hate this brat, I was like, okay, Ozen.
Yeah, we cool.
So yeah, a little bit of talking. Ozen lets Rico in on a bit of information. It's like, yeah, you were born down in, or Rico was aware that she was born in the abyss, but Ozen lets her know that she was a stillbirth. But yeah. So
to be fair, I was like, this is an interesting character, and then when she just started like harassing these kids and like beating the shit out, I was like, I think this is my favorite character.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because she's beating the shit out of the robot and the kids, but
yeah. So
it didn't hurt.
No, of course not.
Because Rico's saying her reason to go down into the abyss is to go after her mother, and she presents the white whistle that was sent up. She's like, "You're the one who found this, right?" And Ozen's like, "Yeah, I found it. Don't you know what it means when a white whistle makes it to the surface? It means she's dead. Do you know where I found this? I found this on her grave."
And then she starts going, "You're gonna go dig up the grave?" I'm like, great.
So what are you gonna do when you get down there? Dig up the grave? See for yourself, huh? But the way Ozen says it is she's very lacking in energy and, like, emotionally distant, kind of.
Yeah.
She's very monotone and just absolutely perfect for the just hard truth that she's delivering right now.
Yeah.
So, in essence, right now she's gauging just why they're going down to the abyss and whether or not they're determined enough to face the challenges ahead.
Which they aren't.
Yeah, at this point they're not.
Yeah. Simple fact, they're not.
And so she's like, "Yeah, you smell like vomit, so go get cleaned up. We'll talk in the morning."
What a great character. Just someone who unrelentingly shits on children.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, and I'll hold on to this white whistle until you guys leave and give you these blue whistles, because it would be really awkward to explain to anyone else coming through here why there's a couple of red whistles down at this level.
But then they also later explain that no one's expected for 10 days. Oh, wait, no, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. Yeah, so, Marulk, where's the name? Yeah, Marulk is, this little person in, kind of a dress, who is Ozen's assistant.
Now, I have to ask a question, because it was never revealed in the anime. Is that a guy?
It is a guy.
Okay,
Yep.
I assumed.
Yeah.
Because they were talking, because they never really give the conversation, but Reg and them are bonding over something, and it's like, they both have remarkably realistic penises, don't
Yeah,
they?
it's explicitly said in the manga. He also has a remarkably realistic penis.
Not really, though.
I know, I'm just joking.
Yeah. In Japanese, he refers to himself with masculine pronouns, and also just how he reacts to seeing Rico come out of the bath naked, and he just, like, bolts right away. He's like, no, I'm out.
And I'm assuming that's also Ozen's doing.
Yeah, he just dresses like that because Ozen likes it.
Ozen's great.
Yeah, Ozen's pretty fucking great.
Yeah, because it's not explained here, really. It's explained in a little side series of episodes I came out with the most recent movie.
Okay.
That Marulk, the reason Marulk is down there is because
He's a vampire.
he was on an airship that was sent into an expedition in the abyss. But the airship was attacked by a bunch of creatures and crashed. And the entire crew was killed, his father included. And he was just hiding in like a little box, essentially, for a couple days until Ozen and her explorer team found him. And just took him on as her disciple. But yeah, Marulk is talking with them, finding out more about them and such. And then they turn in for the night. Rika wakes up in the middle of the night, has to go pee. So she goes looking for the washroom. What she finds instead
Full Alchemist.
Yeah.
is a moving, decapitated corpse of something coming towards her. She freaks out, runs back into Reg's bed, and
He's there.
pees there.
I also like that he calls like, I know you do this in your bed, why'd it have to be mine?
Yeah.
And Marl's like, don't worry, I used to do this until a couple of years ago, too. It's like, yeah, great, thanks. And then Ozen comes. He's like, oh, I see, alright. I hear what's been going on. Come with me, I'll explain some things to you if you want to hear the truth. And so Rico's like, yeah, I'm curious, okay.
I understand in this story it doesn't work out that way. In any other story, if a character like Ozen says, come with me if you want to learn the truth, that character's not the same after that conversation. They're either dead or they are never going to be able to talk again.
Honestly, I don't think Rico was quite the same after this
Oh,
anyway.
Rico's not the same, but she should have been a lot more different given the context.
Well, see, like, to this point, even at the end of episode 13, I felt that nothing has changed about the character of Rico. She's the exact same, and that's why she's just not interesting.
Yeah, she doesn't change up until this point. It's not until after this encounter with Ozen and everything that happens here that she starts to change a bit.
Well, even with that, I didn't notice a difference.
Yeah, not much, but slowly. So Ozen guides them to her chambers, where at the end of the chamber, well, they're walking through and they see Ozen's big suit of imposing cave-raiding armor. And at the end, on a pedestal, they see this giant white cube, which is revealed to be what is known as the curse-warding vessel.
The Tesseract, yeah.
Which, it's written about in their artifact catalog that they have up in Orth. It's said to be able to repel the curse and protect anything from the effects of the curse that's stored inside it. And
such as a stillborn baby.
And Ozen's like, yeah, that's not entirely correct. Because, anything that you put in there when going up, it'll still die. Just, it'll start moving again. It'll come back to life. Just seeing you again reminded me of the fact that, when you were born, you were stillborn.
I love the flashback to this too, where she's like, "I would just leave this fucking cube," and then starts crying. Like, "Ah, shit, what have I done?"
Yeah, because Liza's there just after giving birth in the cave, and she's depressed as all hell because her husband just died in an attack from other cave raiders, or died not necessarily directly because of, but indirectly because of an attack from cave raiders, and they stored the corpse of the baby in this curse-repelling vessel. And Ozen just walks out of the cave because Liza wants some time to herself. And Ozen's just there like, man, this thing's too heavy. There's no reason to bring a corpse back up to the surface, so we're just going to leave this here and actually get the unheard bell that we came down here for and bring that up. And then the baby starts crying inside the curse-warding vessel. And Ozen's like,
So I've made more problems for myself.
Yes. And then, so coming back to the present, Ozen explains that because she remembered that fact, she decided to put a piece of the meat she uses to cook their meals into the curse-warding vessel and see what happens. And sure enough, it came to life and wandered out. And the first thing it did, along with the first thing that Rico did when she came out of the curse-warding vessel alive, is that their first movements were to go towards the abyss. Does that explain why Rico is drawn so hard to the abyss? Or is Rico just some curious little twerp? Who knows?
It's the second one. It's definitely the second one.
Yeah, because I thought, I was thinking there might be something special about her with the abyss, but then when later on she starts suffering some of the curse effects, I was like, okay, well, there goes that theory, I guess.
Yeah, and she's very quick, because she even has that thought, too, of, I was born in the abyss, maybe I don't suffer the curse. And then she's like, oh, wait, right, no, I got sick climbing from the first level.
She's immediately reminded that, you're not immune to the curse. The only effect that she had kept from being born in the abyss is the fact that
her eyes suck.
Well, no, they don't suck. She just gets headaches if she's not wearing crystals.
Yeah. She has to look through crystal lenses or else she'll get headaches.
So she's new age like that.
Yeah.
I need these crystals to ward off evil spirits.
Yeah, and so Reg gets fed up with Ozen bullying her, so he starts attacking Ozen to no effect. Ozen is just too insanely strong. This
is where I really started looking at Ozen.
Yeah.
Just calling Reg a little toy. Because Reg's pretty much indestructible. Nothing they did to him on the surface could phase him or scratch him or dent him at all.
Well, after the fight, she even makes the comment you see, I was just going to hurt you and see what could happen, egg you on, but I wasn't making a dent, so I got carried away and started hitting you harder.
Yeah. And so Reg felt pain and his hand creaking under the grip of Ozen. And during the fight, a bit of Ozen's clothing is blown off, and it's revealed that she's using her own relics, about 120 of these 1,000-man wedges, which each individual one grants a fairly significant increase to her strength and stamina. And that explains why she's so freaking strong.
Well, Habo even explains, is it true she's, this super strong? He's like, well, there's only rumors, but those rumors have been around for 50 years and haven't changed.
She's been cave raiding for over 50 years, and she's still going strong.
Yeah, there's a reason she's known as Ozen the Unmovable, and is just considered the most indestructible person in the entire world.
Yeah, so Reg's like, oh no, this is serious. I've got to tell her to back off right now. So he starts firing his incineration cannon, and Ozen's like, ooh, pretty light. What does this do? What would happen if I aimed it at Rico for you? And Reg's like, oh, no, I've already started this. I can't stop this. So he kicks his hand.
Which is a lie.
Yeah. But he has more control over it at that point.
Fair enough.
But, so he kicks his hand up, blasts a hole through the roof and several of the other trees. And Ozen's like, oh, it just fires and keeps on going. Damn.
Gotta get me one of those.
And then proceeds to continue.
Your hands, give them to me.
Yeah.
And then when Reg goes unconscious.
Also, you're ridiculously realistic penis. Give it to me.
Then Reg goes unconscious and he continues to get beat up.
And then she does her own experiments, just like Rico did at the top.
More beating up. More just...
She was trying to wake him up.
Wail on him.
Yeah.
Hammer in a part that she actually bent. But, Marl ran away during the fighting and got some of Ozen's cave raiding team to come and put a stop to things. And Ozen's like, yeah, I was just testing you guys.
This is what testing looks like, guys.
I was testing to see if you have what it takes to go into the abyss. You don't. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to train you. But first, you're going to spend 10 days out here surviving by yourself. And if you come back, you've given up and you're going home.
No, this isn't quite how it works, but I like the idea of telling someone you're going to spend 2 weeks training them, but they have to spend the first 10 days not near you for the slightest.
You get 4 days of training, but you have to prove you deserve it. All they really do is beat up a hippo.
Yeah.
Yeah. They come to they start to actually put 2 and 2 together. Reg is strong, but kind of timid, and Rico is not strong at all, but knowledgeable.
Not timid.
And not timid. 2, not timid.
Dangerously brave.
Unreasonably brave for her situation.
Yeah, so they start working together to get things done, and they manage to survive the 10 days, go back. And they have another little conversation with Ozen. Ozen's like, yeah, I'll tell you a little more about stuff and things. And also that grave, that's the one thing that I did lie about to you. It was empty when I checked, so she's probably still alive.
He's like, I'm the kind of person that would dig up the grave.
Yeah.
Well, I think she phrased it like, what, did you think I wouldn't dig up the grave? Do you know who you're talking to?
Yeah. But she also says that deeper down you go, time seems to flow a little more differently, or your perception of time seems to alter a bit. Because she went down deep for what she intended to be 2 weeks, but when she got back, a couple of months had passed. So, she explains that since Liza went down 10 years ago, who knows how much time's gone? Maybe not much at all. Only a couple of years, perhaps. So she's probably still alive.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. And then, when bidding farewell, she's like, oh, take this. It's your mother's weapon that was at her grave. The Blaze Reeve. And it's essentially an explosive pickaxe with eternal gunpowder inside.
Yeah.
Which I assume is another relic that just can be used over and over again.
Yeah.
You know who's going to use it? Definitely not Rika.
Reg, because it's freaking heavy.
What if she can hold it?
Well,
but
she can hold
every time where she has a chance to use it, she's like, hey, Reg, use this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so she says it only has a couple uses left because the gunpowder is good, but the casing is old as heck and only going to be able to withstand a couple more explosions. And she just comforts Rico saying, yeah, it's your mother. She's found a new weapon by now.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Someone with the, surname of the Annihilator, or not surname, but, the title of the Annihilator, doesn't strike me as the kind of person to just abandon a weapon without a backup prepared.
Because,
her fists.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, before Rico descends, Leader tells her that her mother was a very straightforward, aggressive person, violent.
She was 100% a tavern brawler.
Yep. Drinks a lot. And you never knew if she was telling the truth or just how much of the truth she was telling.
Like, hey, it's great down here at the bottom of the abyss. Come hang out.
Yeah, a great thing to hear about someone whose word is absolute fact in your society.
But, after Rico left, he also said that it's probably better that I didn't tell her that, after she was brought up, she went back down to go get the Unheard Bell and take care of the raid team that they ran into before. So she just killed them all.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they head out again. Some sad goodbyes because Marlk was happy to have some kids his age for once to talk to. But now they're moving on towards the third layer of the abyss, the Great Fault, which is a vertical shaft, which at first glance, you're not moving through it very well. But
I mean, this is the thing that gets me, is they, it's not exactly how it's presented, but they describe the abyss as a giant pit in the ground, and then the Great Shaft is just, or chasm is just more pitty than the rest of the pit that you're in. Oh no!
The other one had ledges.
But
this one does too, but don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Although, the one thing that I don't really get about the Great Chasm or the Great Rift, how did they originally get the curse-repelling vessel up there? Because that vessel is freaking huge. And the animal burrows and things that they have to crawl through and hop between to get down there, they're not that big.
Ozen probably threw it up.
Ozen probably just jumped from level 5 to level 3. Or from 4 to 2. Skipping the castle. Rift or whatever the fuck it's called.
I'm just going to assume that they had something jury-rigged ahead of time.
They had other artifacts that we just don't know about at this time.
They had something prepared specifically for that voyage.
I mean, they have, like blimp-like technology, right? So it could have been something as simple as that.
But especially through this layer, though, any flight or travel through air is next to impossible because of all the flying predators that would tear anything to shreds.
Yeah, but they had Ozen.
Yeah.
Fair.
And the Annihilator.
Doubly fair. But,
It's just, they don't even attack anything, it's just the two of them standing on an airship looking menacingly, and the monsters all going back into the fucking burrows on the side.
And JoJo posing as they fly up.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too much happens in this episode, aside from them doing the descent. They go into a cave, and they go start looking for food. Rico stumbles across the nest of a big creature, freaks out, and Reg comes, fires his Annihilator cannon, his incinerator. He's like, okay, Rico, you have to be safe for the next 2 hours because I'm going to sleep. And Rico's like, okay, yeah. I'm gonna stay here, won't move, I promise.
The least interesting episode since Ozen.
And then Rico gets hungry. So she starts to move and look for
Can't
food.
fucking wait 2 hours.
Falls into the belly of a beast. Cuts her way out of its stomach.
Because fucking of course she does, yep.
Yep. And the Crimson Splitjaw's back. And it wants revenge now. Chases her. She gets away, has to climb a hill, experiences the ascending sickness of the third layer, and passes out, comes to, and Reg's awake and caring for her.
She literally couldn't wait 2 hours to create a situation where both of them are fucking unconscious at the same time.
She left to look for food and didn't find food.
Yeah.
Typical Rico. But the end
She's
of
the worst.
The episode ends with them viewing into the fourth layer, the Goblet of Giants, which is another interesting area of the Abyss.
And also home of, so far, the best arc, because it doesn't have Rico.
Yeah, for the most part, it doesn't.
They very neatly and tidily wrote Rico out of the fucking story.
And has another really good character instead.
Yeah. In fact, if the story was just from this point on, Reg and, was it?
Nanachi.
Now I think I would like the story a lot more.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so they go down. It's essentially comprised of a bunch of large plants in the shapes of bowls, and they're all filled with hot water. And it's explained in the manga, apparently, that when those plants are growing, instead of hot water, they're filled with acid. So that's another danger that's a little glazed over in the anime. So they stop for lunch, and Reg notices that they're being watched, and they only seem to move and follow them when they're talking so as to not get detected. So they start moving in through the center of the place, through all the steam of the hot water, to try to avoid detection. Because the only other people that they assume would be down here would be other cave raiders, and they don't really want to run into anyone who could potentially kill them and steal Reg for fame and fortune. But they run into the hunting grounds of the worst monster that they've encountered yet. The Orbed Piercer. A big white porcupine thing with a red orbish mouth.
And piercing abilities.
Able to pierce steel, and also very, very lethal poison.
Although, to be fair, we never got any indication in its time in the anime that it was able to pierce Reg.
It can pierce steel.
Yeah, but we don't know how strong Reg is.
And steel and less strong stuff than Ozen. That's all. Ozen. That's all we know.
That's true.
Did I say it could pierce Reg?
No,
Okay.
we're just making it very clear. It can pierce steel. It can maybe pierce Reg. We're not giving explicit evidence.
I'm just saying,
another.
it seemed like it was building up to it could pierce him, and we never got anything to indicate otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so that's there, and it seems to be able to anticipate every move they make when they try to make a run for it, which is very unsettling, and, Reg recalls that Ozen told them
Away their weapons.
Yep. And that's when they really realize, oh my god, it knows what we're doing. And then Rico's like, Here, take the scaled umbrella and use it. I'll do it.
You know what's gonna be bigger than this fucking umbrella.
Puts it out as the orb piercer is lunging and realizes, this thing should be bigger. This thing should probably be bigger. And it recoils away because its spines are now stuck in the umbrella.
Yep.
And Rico calls for Reg. And Reg sees that there is a thorn, or a spine, right through her hand.
Oh, thank God.
So she is...
This is when that poison comes into play, and we don't have to deal with Rico anymore, please.
She is dying now.
Yes!
She's got poison in her hand, and Reg makes the only escape that is feasible to them.
Abandon Rico.
Grabbing Rico and going up.
Of course.
Which causes Rico to experience even more pain than she was before.
To be fair, it does kind of inadvertently save her, though.
It does.
Yep.
Because bleeding out of every orifice also expelled the blood. Or the blood that was poisoned.
Yeah.
The poison in the blood. Most of it, anyway. And, this part, I've watched through the series twice now, and even when I was watching this the other day, I still had to lie down when I was watching this
It's
scene.
an intense part, but I think I went at this differently, because when the whole thing started of like, okay, you need to take my hand off. Well, at first, I thought the whole thing was going to be, she's like, you need to cut it off. It's like, oh, she means the glove, of course. And then once it's like my arm, it's like, okay, and then he starts doing the prep to cut off the arm. And the whole time, like, I think most people are like, oh God, I can't look at this. I'm like, you're doing it wrong!
Because the whole thing is Reg doesn't really know what to do anyway, and Rico, through intense pain and bleeding, is trying to instruct him on how to cut her arm off, but she goes about it the way of, it's hard to cut through bone, so she gets Reg to break her arm to cut through the break. And Rico passes out from the pain of her arm getting broken.
And then Reg's just no help at all, cutting off the arm.
Yeah. And then this is when Nanachi steps in. She's like, oh my god, you guys are being so loud.
Also, when this is happening, my thought was like, you don't cut there. That's the worst spot to cut, especially with breaking the bone. And then I would justify later why Nanachi's like, you should have cut at the elbow. I was like, of fucking course you should have.
Yeah. Nanachi explains, alright, we can still save her, but we've got to do things fast now. She's stopped breathing, you've got to give her CPR. Instructs Reg on giving her CPR and such. Now, brace her arm, because it's about to fall off at any minute now with all the hacking you've done, the gruesome hacking you've done. And so they brace it up, and Nanachi leads them back to where where Nanachi's staying. It's never explained whether Nanachi is a boy or a girl.
I feel like it's pretty obvious.
Even it seems that way, but the author goes out of the way to never use any specific gender pronouns, and it's never even mentioned in the manga if Nanachi is male or female.
Fair enough.
And since they're still young, it's hard to tell, anyway.
That and the fact they're a rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, rabbits aren't known for having gender? Nope, that's not where I expected that sentence to go, and then that's where it ended up. Okay.
I know for one thing for sure, they definitely don't have remarkably realistic penises.
Yeah.
So yes, Nanachi is a rabbit-like individual, which is explained, well, they explain as they are a hollow, and then episode cut to the next episode. And the next episode is essentially just Nanachi treating Rico. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to take out all these bone fragments from the bone you've broken, and I'm not great at stitching nerves together, so
I'm not a doctor.
So she's going to, her arm will be fine, but she's not going to be able to use it like she used to be able to.
I think in either situation she was going to be able to use it like she used to.
Yeah. But she does explain that the reason Rico said to break it off below the elbow instead of cutting it off at the elbow is, I guess, because having at least a little bit more arm past the elbow allows her to do a little bit more, cave rating wise.
Yep.
So she didn't want to limit herself, or she wanted to have as much left of her as possible to help in any way she could.
Let's be
find a nice
honest,
hook
though.
and attach to the end of the stub, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
even if she still had full use of the hand, it was still going to be Reg doing all of the work.
Oh,
Rico still wasn't going to do shit, even if she had the full use
So
of her
far,
hand.
and as we found out by the end of this, the only thing that she really brings to the team is cooking.
Yeah. So yeah, Nanachi's doing the healing or the work on Rico, and gives Reg a list of things to go out and get while she's fixing Rico up.
Now, just due to the nature of this character, I immediately called that most of this was just lunch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need an egg, I need some fish.
I need some nice scented spicy grass.
That's just seasoning for
Spicy
lunch.
grass.
Or whatever the grass was called. Glow.
No, I just like the concept of spicy grass.
And a, whatever the animal was called, but it was some sort of weird muskratty thing with...
It's like a shroom bear.
Shroom bear. That's it.
It's like the best new addition to the series so far.
A little mammal thing with parasitic mushrooms that grow on its back.
Yeah,
It's
true.
pretty much a Pokemon.
Pretty much. Essentially parasect. Except the
But
bear...
shroom bear.
Shroom bear. And the bear still has its own mind. But, yeah. Reg goes, gets a little annoyed at Nanachi after finding out he was just doing shopping for lunch. And Nanachi's like, I'm doing fixing here, I'm doing the healing. What would you do if I fainted from hunger? He's like, oh, I suppose that's fair.
The best duo in this whole story.
Yeah, and...
Just let Rico die. It'll be fine.
yeah, and...
I don't know why I say that like we have any impact on the story as it develops.
Yeah, it's around this time also that we're introduced to Nanachi's, let's say, roommate. Mitty, or Meaty.
That was Mitty.
Mitty.
A blob of meat with ears and claws.
And
Yep.
And eye.
Delicious. Friend.
And I think they only say Mitty. This might be another Pokemon.
It might actually be a Pokemon. Is the fifth level of the Abyss just the Pokemon universe?
That's the mashup I can get behind.
Yeah.
Fifth level, no. Sixth level, maybe. But, yeah, so Nanachi explains that they're both hollows, and Nanachi got off a little better off than Mitty did. And the next episode, Nanachi relents to Reg's questioning and pestering, because Nanachi had mentioned that where they were going, there was no real strain of the Abyss there, because they were going up to get to Nanachi's house. So Reg's like, you can see the Abyss, you can avoid the curse of it. How? Let me know. And Nanachi explains the whole force field thing and how that works in trapping prey in, essentially. And Nanachi can see it because of what happened to them and why they're hollow now. But, of course, no one else can, really.
Yeah.
And that's why Nanachi was so reluctant to give up the information, because it's their little secret, and they're essentially a trump card, kind of. And Nanachi's like, so, you want to see it in action? Because that orb piercer, that red organ on in the front of its face, it can also detect the distortions of the Abyss, and that's how it was predicting your movements. And so Nanachi gives a little earpiece to Reg, and sends him off for a rematch against the orb piercer.
Which is actually a really cool fight.
Yeah, because they find the orb piercer from a whistle being sounded out in the middle of the lair, and there's a black whistle being attacked by the orb piercer, and he sees this just little kid walk out of the steam. And he's like, "Wait, what? No, get back! There's a monster here!"
Go find your daddy and take him. I'm blowing the whistle.
And so Nanachi commands Reg to fully commit to the action of looking up, as if he's like about to jump up or something. And so, as the orb piercer is reading those distortions and moves to intercept accordingly, Nanachi directs Reg to jump sideways, and Reg grabs onto the orb piercer's sensory organ. Fighting ensues. He ties up the orb piercer and fires off his incineration cannon. But,
Hits the black whistle.
It's Rico on the other side of the area.
if only. But no, the orb piercer sheds off a bunch of its spines so it can get away, and Reg's like, "Hey, Black Whistle, can you send us a message? Can you send a message for me up to the top, to the surface? I was like, yeah, tell our friends at the orphanage that we're doing good, we're doing fine, we're continuing our adventure. And the Black Whistle's just like, okay? Because he's clearly flabbergasted about this little kid that just blasted an orb piercer.
True.
So Nanachi kind of freaks out over seeing the incineration cannon, and asks Reg to kill Mitty. And then the following episode starts off with Nanachi dragging an unconscious Reg back home. Yeah, most of this now is just the wrap-up of what happens during Riko's recuperation. Nanachi explains that Mitty, due to what happened to her and the nature of the curse, she can't die. Whenever she's injured or cut, she regenerates.
Yeah, so we get the story of which I'm pretty sure is the next major villain in the story.
Yeah! The White Whistle Bondrewd. Bondrewd the novel. And, he's essentially a mad scientist.
Yeah, he's not a good person. He created an elevator, and everything from there was downhill, and the elevator wasn't a good thing anyways.
Yes.
That pretty much sums it up, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nanachi and Mitty were a couple of orphans who were pulled from some country to the far north for a grand scientific experiment in the Abyss. They were finally given a chance to go to the Abyss that they were dreaming of for all of their short lives thus far. And so Bondrewd and his team takes all of the orphans deep down into the 5th layer of the Abyss to do some experimenting of his own. And one by one the kids are taken away, and at one point Nanachi's like, there's a lot fewer kids here than there were before. I wonder if the others are alright down in the Abyss. And
They really, really aren't.
Yeah, so sum it all up, Nanachi overhears Bondrewd saying to one of his teammates that he's not thinking of the kids as humans.
I don't like what you're doing to this children. What children? There's no children
They're
here.
just
experiments.
They're just science experiments. They're the path to knowledge. And Nanachi freaks out, and Bondrewd is like, hey, come with me, it's time. And guides Nanachi to where Mitty is currently trapped in one side of a 2-sided elevator. And Bondrewd's like, yeah, we're doing an experiment. We're forcing all of the effects of the Abyss into one of the chambers of this elevator to see if we can circumvent the curse on ascending here. So far it hasn't worked, but this time we're actually going to try putting 2 people in and see what happens. And so you get into the chamber beside your nice friend here, and...
Now, Mitty, you draw the short straw.
So, Mitty, the curse is going over to you, so, you're probably going to die. But, Mitty, you got to hold on tight and make sure that you are conscious for most of it so your friend Nanachi can survive.
Because if you die too soon, you don't get to take Nanachi's portion of the curse, so you really need to stay alive long enough to take Nanachi's portion of the curse as well.
And this is where we find out what this whole series is really about, because she turns into a rabbit and it all clicked. It's an analogy for being a furry.
Don't get on an elevator, you might become a furry. That is my understanding.
The whole Abyss is just an analogy for being a furry.
Yeah.
Because Bondrewd does refer to what Nanachi gets as the blessing of the Abyss.
Yep.
But,
definitely a good thing.
Yeah, so they're dropped to the 6th layer, and then immediately brought back up. Nanachi starts undergoing those transformations, turns into that rabbit monster, and Mitty just melts. She melts, begging to be killed, because the pain is so intense.
It's a good thing she's not immortal or anything.
Yeah! And so Nanachi, after seeing all the terrible experimentation that Bondrewd has been doing on Mitty, kind of sneaks away one night with Mitty on her back and heads off to the 4th layer.
Now, and I heard something that I was like, I don't know about what happened, but essentially what ends up happening is Nanachi is like, hey, kill Mitty with your incinerator. It kills anything. Mm-hmm. And we do get confirmation later that it worked, because apparently the novel can track life forces. But the thing is, we know that they beat the shit out of her and like dismantled her, and she just kind of grew back.
Yeah.
There was no guarantee that incinerating her was going to do it, and they just treated like she's dead, and she could have just grown back over the next couple of weeks from what was left.
The chance was slight, but Nanachi was next to absolutely positive that it would
The
work.
confirmation they went off was some weird psychic link dream that Rico had.
No, the confirmation went off the fact that Bondrewd used another artifact, a relic from the Abyss called Sporagmos, that is very similar to the Incinerator, and he used it to crush one of Mitty's eyes, which is the eye that's missing, and that's the one thing that never regenerated. So, that's what Nanachi's going off, saying that Reg's Incinerator can finally kill Nanachi. Or kill
I'm just thinking
Mitty.
this is inconclusive evidence. It worked out. I'll give them that.
Fair enough.
But the basis of this spike is similar to your laser. Wait, what?
It's a little bit of a leap to take. I'll give you
A
that.
little bit of a leap, and me too. I too was thinking, yeah, but what if it doesn't work?
Yeah, what if they
What if
leave
it
and then Mitty
doesn't?
comes back and then that whole problem of, I don't want me to be gone and Mitty's still here, will just happen.
Also,
It's almost like that Bondrew thing that they put in afterwards. It was like, you the audience, don't worry, she did die.
it's also one of those things where it's just like, the whole reason for doing this is Mitty's in incredible pain. If it doesn't work, you're just putting her in even greater pain in this moment.
Yeah. But also, when we get that little bit of Bondrewd at the end saying, congratulations, you finally done it, it's less the fact that Nanachi finally found a way to kill Mitty. It's more the fact that Nanachi's finally able to move on away from that and is presumably going to find their way back to Bondrewd. Because...
What a fuck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, no, she wants to kill herself, and then...
Yeah, Reg's like...
He's like, because there's that little game, it's like, you gotta promise me that you won't kill yourself after this is done. Don't worry, I still gotta take care of Rico. You can't even kill yourself after that. Fine.
Yeah, because Nanachi's one purpose in life was to find a way to end Mitty's suffering.
But I like that, like, she clearly was using the loophole of, don't worry, I'm gonna still help Rico.
Yeah. But yeah, that happens, and Rico wakes back up. Rico makes him a tasty meal, because Nanachi has never eaten anything tasty before. So that brought tears to Nanachi's eyes. Nanachi agrees to come with them on their journey into the Abyss, and they prepare to make their voyage deeper down into the 5th layer. And that's where the season that we have ends.
Yep. Alright, I'm sorry, I'm on the wiki right now, and I'm on Bondrewd's page, because there was something I read earlier that I wanted to confirm, but I got to the trivia about Bondrewd at the bottom, and one of the trivia notes is, after everything we've just discussed, Bondrewd genuinely loves children.
He does. He
actually
does.
Yeah, it's just so upsetting after...
If only he had children there at that lab, this never would have happened.
Unfortunately, it was experiments, not children.
I will say that in the movie that follows this, we find out that Bondrewd does have a daughter that he adopted from the Abyss and is raising as a loving father.
Yeah, and that daughter definitely survives and lives happily and doesn't sacrifice themselves to make a white whistle for someone else because those are made from souls.
Spoilers, Peter.
What do you assume was me?
I was also about to say that she is a key point to the future.
Yeah.
I was going to say, hopefully he never mixes up the file that says that she's daughter and not experiment.
I'm just saying, it definitely doesn't happen.
It's a blurry line for him.
So.
He also has bad vision due to the Abyss.
Yeah, he literally just didn't see children because his eyes were that bad.
These are all experiments, right?
Yeah.
Talking sheep?
Wow, these mice are much larger than I expected and also can talk and cry.
I don't know why I got them from an orphanage, but whatever.
Well, that's where we found Stuart Little. Clearly that's where you find mice. Fuck. Anything else to say about this show, Matt?
No, I think that sums up what I wanted to say for this episode, because,
Do you have a question prepared for us?
I do have a question prepared.
Is it what the fuck?
No, although some of you might be asking that. I just want to propose a kind of hypothetical question. Hypothetically, if the Abyss did happen to exist, or some sort of similar kind of Abyss in our real world, would you be so adventurous as
Fuck
to
no.
want to go down into it?
I'm gonna get ahead of you. Fuck no.
Really? Because I would.
Alright, if I was going to go into the Abyss, I would speed run to the 6th level and then run back up and just... That would be...
But why would you do that when you get to the 7th level and guarantee it?
You'd fail at 50%.
I'm willing to try it.
I'm just saying that's a lot of effort to go for a maybe.
The trick is, I get into an elevator and hope, and then if it doesn't work out, then I just go back down and get in the elevator again. And I can cart so many people back up from the bottom. Eventually it'll work.
No, the problem is they have to love you. They have to love you.
Is that a rule? Is that a specific rule?
It's a specific rule.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was, you have to love the other person.
What if Liza's down there? He's like, fuck, I can't get out. I know.
I believe it's not that you have to love the person who's taking the sacrifice, it's the person who's taking the sacrifice has to love them. I'll just tell them I love them, and then we'll just fucking rock it up together.
The person who takes the curse into themselves has to be doing it genuinely for the benefit of the person that they're saving.
Yeah, it can be both things. I can be doing it to benefit another person while also fucking myself over. Fine, you ruined my plan. I'll go to floor 7 and then come back.
There we go.
There.
I mean, the top layer seems fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to go down to the inverted forest. Seems like an absolutely fantastic place.
As already discussed, I don't want the blood out of my penis, so...
Yeah, no. Definitely not that. I am not going down
Oh,
there.
that depends. In this situation, is my penis remarkably realistic?
Well, maybe, because...
Are you a robot?
Because Hablog does give Rico a little bit of medicine for helping with...
I don't like that you're talking about an adult giving a child medicine after I asked about penises, man.
Gives Rico medicine for the strain of the abyss for the top, for like the first 2 layers, to help mitigate the effect. So maybe they have some more potent stuff for down lower? Who knows?
Okay.
Finally, a drug that can keep the blood inside of my penis.
I don't care about anywhere else in my body, but as long as the blood stays inside my penis, that's my main goal. Fuck, recommendations?
Yeah, let's move on to recommendations. Peter, you go first.
I'd love to. Now, while this one isn't super closely related to Made in the Abyss, it is my understanding that 100% of people who enjoy Made in the Abyss also enjoy this, so I'm going to personally recommend Warframe as a thing that people should try out. It's a delightful little game where you play as robot samurais in space and fight
Ninjas.
Robot ninjas. You fight samurai? Yeah, cool. There we go. That's my recommendation. Matt, what do you recommend?
I recommend the 2008 film with Brendan Fraser, Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's...
Does blood come over his penis in that movie? It's been a while.
No. It's an enjoyable movie, to say the least, I guess. It is an enjoyable watch, also a product of the time, because it's one of the first, like, IMAX 3D experience, or one of the first 3D experience movies ever made, so it has a couple of cliche, kind of odd things that were just shoehorned in for the 3D experience. But aside from that, it's relatively interesting of descending into essentially a contained biome in the center of the Earth.
So what I'm going to recommend is actually a little game called Spelunky.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing.
It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. I can accept that.
Except in Spelunky, there is no up.
Exactly.
There's never
There's
an
also
up.
no up technically in this.
Not once you go past the 6th layer.
There are conditional ups in this.
There's conditional ups.
I'm just saying, without that compass, how do we even know which way's up?
Oh, fair enough.
For all we know, everything has been up since they got to the inverted forest, and it's just a U-shaped fucking thing.
I said, there's another hole on the opposite side, and they're just going straight through.
Yeah.
But yeah. If you guys don't have... Do you guys have anything else to say?
God, no.
Alright.
And no one has surprisingly guessed this yet.
Well, fair enough. And I assume no comments or anything.
No
emails.
comments or messages.
Alright.
No emails.
That said, if you have a suggestion on a topic that we could talk about in a future episode, or on how we could improve in general, feel free to shoot us an email at whatismypodcastabout@gmail.com.
Don't forget the offer to torture Peter by making him watch the rest of My Little Pony still on the table.
No, do in fact forget that, please.
And Yeah, so you can find us on all available podcast streaming services. We're also on Instagram, where we post a picture every time we record of some clue of what our topic's going to be. If you want to guess what we're going to be talking about, you can also find us on YouTube, where if you do listen to us there, leave a like, comment if you so wish. And we'll be back in another 2 weeks to discuss something.
Yep, just make sure to check in 2 weeks when we just cover the topic of what happens when you don't have vision.
Yeah, the problems that can arise from a distinct lack of vision.
Or a seeking of vision.
Yeah.
But I don't want to.